Hi there folks, and welcome to the Truck King YouTube channel. Today we're on a road trip. We're out here somewhere in Pennsylvania with the 2025 Toyota Tacoma TRD Off-Road. This one is fit with a 6-speed manual, and I want to tell you all about it. So in this video, I'll talk about the road trip, how it handles, how comfortable it is, and of course what the fuel economy was. So make sure you stay tuned. And here we are behind the wheel, folks. So the first thing I'll tell you is if you want to see this truck off-road, you want to hear more about the numbers off-road and the power numbers, go watch the other video that we published on this Tacoma here on the channel. In this video, I want to deal specifically with the road trip and some aspects of the Tacoma here that are good for a road trip and some aspects that aren't so good for a road trip. So first of all, the trip itself, we went from our house north of Toronto, Ontario, down to Baltimore, Maryland, to watch the Blue Jays play the Orioles. Sadly, one of our games got rained out, and the other game the Blue Jays lost, so that was no fun. But still, it was a great time heading to Baltimore and checking out the Inner Harbor and seeing the city. So that was the trip. Total mileage is going to be about 1,100 miles when all of this is done. And of course, we are tracking the fuel economy. The vast majority of the driving is like this, 70 miles per hour out here on a highway or an interstate. So yeah, we're going to get a really good sense for the highway fuel economy number, but I'm not going to give you that number until we're back. So wait a little bit and then we'll touch on that. So let's talk about some of the good aspects of this Tacoma on the road trip. The first thing I'll say is just the interior comfort is quite good, very much improved compared to the last Tacoma. The seating position for the driver and passenger is a lot more comfortable. Your butt's a little further up off the floor. My legs have more space to stretch out. In terms of headroom, tons of it, and I like my sight lines around this truck. So yeah, just the way I fit in this truck is a lot better than the old Tacoma, and definitely it's a comfortable midsize truck. Now, when it comes to how it drives, I like the steering here in the Tacoma. Of course, that was another change from the last Tacoma to this new generation, was going to electric power steering, but Toyota still dialed it in with a nice amount of feedback. I don't feel like it's ever too light or too loose, anything like that. Now, when we're out here cruising, we are using adaptive cruise control, and that also has a lane centering feature, so I don't know how much you can see it now, but this is mostly the Tacoma doing the driving. And I actually like this system more than I like a lot of other ones because the tugs at the wheel, the way this truck sort of tries to drive in its lane, they're not that aggressive. They don't feel that strong. There's not that much torque sort of coming into my hands from this wheel. And that's a complaint I often have with other brands. And from this Tacoma, yeah, I don't feel too bad about it. It's sort of a gentle tug to say, hey, why don't you get back to the center of the lane? So I appreciate the way that this truck sort of tries to drive for you. Now, overall, and this is a personal preference, I usually just shut the system off. I don't really want it to drive for me at all, but luckily you can do that. One button here on my steering wheel and boom, now I have full control. So I like that they give you the easy control. The system does work well if you want to use it. But yeah, if you're like me, it can still get a little bit annoying, so you can just shut it off. Now, talking powertrain, the first thing I'll say is I like the power. It comes on strong. It's turbocharged in nature, no doubt. You have to wait a beat before you really feel that turbo kick. But yeah, when you really need power, it's right here. And then when it comes to the manual, first of all, I just appreciate that Toyota still offers us a manual because, of course, these are going away in general. And then second of all, it's a good manual for a truck. And when I say that, what I mean is it's not these sort of really tight feeling shift gates. It's not a super tight feeling stick either. The gates are kind of big and it's a little bit loose. And even the clutch engagement, it's not super sharp clutch engagement. It's a nice soft clutch engagement point. And that's what I think you want out of a truck manual. You know, you always have this idea of a sports car in your mind that you want those short throws and that super sort of stiff feeling shifter. But that's not what's here. And I think it suits this Tacoma perfectly. So yeah, thanks Toyota for keeping the manual, and as manuals go, it's pretty good. I also appreciate the features, the hill hold feature. You know what, as someone who came up, of course, when that didn't exist, it's nice to have. It does take some of the stress out of driving this manual. And then the auto rev matching downshifts, I always turn them on, and I like it, especially around town. Even if it's just a small little blip of that throttle, it just makes those downshifts a lot smoother. It really just contributes to overall smoothness. So yeah, thumbs up for the manual. Now I'll get to my first big complaint, and it has to be the size of the fuel tank. Unfortunately, with this new generation Tacoma, Toyota also went down in overall fuel tank capacity. They're giving you less capacity, and the best range I've seen on a full tank here was 306 miles. So yeah, this is one of those things where when you're around town, you know, day in, day out, you might not feel it as much, but when you come out here on a big road trip, suddenly you're stopping 1, 2, 3, 4 more times than you feel like you normally would. And yeah, it's just unfortunate that when Toyota came to this platform, they made the fuel tank smaller. Same goes for the Land Cruiser. It has the same small fuel tank. So while the fuel economy numbers so far have been okay, yeah, it's really unfortunate about the overall fuel tank capacity. And I guess I might as well just put it out there now. Toyota, if you're listening, let's try and get a bigger tank in the Tacoma. Maybe next year? That'd be nice. Speaking on the suspension a little bit, I think the TRD Off-Road is one of the busier models, let's say, of the new Tacoma. And I say busy because it's not really stiff. That wouldn't be the right word for it, but you do feel a lot of the road underneath you. There's a lot of road feel coming up through that suspension, and I attribute that to the fact that this is the off-road, so it gets a different shock setup. And I can tell you, because we've driven a lot of different Tacomas, this truck definitely feels a little different than the other trucks in the lineup, especially the Trailhunter and TRD Pro. But yeah, I would just say that the off-road has a bit of a busier on-road ride, and that's one of the things you're kind of giving up to get a better ride when you do go off-road. All right, folks, well, now we're coming up to the New York border, and soon enough we'll be back home in Canada. And then, of course, I will let you know what the fuel economy was on our trip, and I'll leave you with any final thoughts. And we're coming to the end of our drive now, folks. We were greeted back in Canada by some lovely 401 traffic. No surprise there coming across the city. And we are just returning this Tacoma right now back to Toyota head office. Now, one other thing I do want to mention is how much I like this fully digital gauge cluster here in the Tacoma. It's nice that it's customizable, but then also that you can set up sort of 3 different screens, which you can quickly scroll through, and you can set all 3 of them up differently. So yeah, I like all the info that it provides, and I like how you can set them all up. The one thing I really don't like that you can see right here is there is like a little fuel economy chart or graph that shows up in the center stack. And that I don't think is super useful just because it doesn't actually tell you what the numbers are. It's kind of a struggle to figure out exactly where those bars are. So yeah, that one I don't totally get. But anyways, we're just pulling in right now. And then I will tell you how far we went and how much we burned. Alrighty, we just pulled into our parking spot, and I will show you that we did a total trip distance of 1,973 kilometers, and we managed 12.2 liters per 100 kilometers, which is actually a little bit worse than the EPA rating. The EPA rates this thing at 20 miles per gallon combined. When you go for the manual, it's actually slightly worse than the automatic. And yeah, that basically bears out with our experience as well. But yeah, I couldn't even hit that combined number. Now there are winter tires on this truck, so that probably accounts for that sort of 1 MPG. But still, considering the highway number is about 3 or 4 MPG higher than that, it would have been nice to see a little bit better fuel economy out of it. And that hurts even more when you know the range isn't great, so you're going to be stopping a lot on a long trip. Well, folks, we have come to the end of this one. We had a great road trip down to Baltimore, and the Tacoma served us well, as long as you're all right with a few extra trips to the gas station. But yes, that is the end of this video. Now please go below into the comments. I want to hear your thoughts, so let me know what you think of this Tacoma TRD Off-Road, of Baltimore, and of everything you've seen in this video. As always, while you're down below, don't forget to hit like, hit subscribe, hit join to become a member, and come right back here to Truck King to see what we're testing next. See ya.